Hello guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we will learn how to add primary key constraint into an existing table. We already know that what is primary key and what it does, and we also worked on creating a table with primary key in previous lectures. So let's switch to the PSQL terminal, and there we will add primary key into one of our existing table, that is students table. So switch to the terminal first and open the PSQL console sudo -u Postgres PSQL. Okay, and here first see the details of students table, so slash t students. Okay, and here you can see that right now I have one constraint into the students table, that is unique constraint over the student email. Okay, and we will add the primary key constraint into this table, and we will choose the id attribute as the primary key for the students table. Okay, so let's do that. So how we can do that? So simply alter table command we need to use. So alter table and then table name students. Okay, and then we need to use add primary key. Okay, and here we need to mention our column that we want to make as primary key. Okay, so we will use the id as primary key. Okay, however, if you wish, you can create composite primary key as well. I mean, you can keep id and email, for example, to form the primary key. Okay, but here we are just using the primary key as id. Okay, and in the upcoming lectures we will see how we can create composite primary keys and what are the significance of the composite primary keys. Okay, but for now we are just choosing the id for primary key. Okay, and when you run this query, you can see that primary key has been added into your students table, and you can do this. You can verify this by viewing the details of the students, so slash d and then students. Okay, and when you run this, you can see here id is now primary key, and you can see that as soon as we add a key as primary key. Okay, or as soon as we add a primary key constraint into a table, the mentioned column name set as not null. Okay, because primary key is always unique and cannot be null. Okay, so that directly means that you cannot provide duplicate values for your primary key attributes, and you cannot provide null values for your id primary key attributes. Okay, and for example, let's verify this by inserting a record into students table by providing no value for the id. Okay, so what we can do here, insert into students, and here we can simply provide column names, let's say name comma email comma contact number and then address, and here values, and then simply let's say Ravi Singh, and add here ravi@example.com. Okay, and then contact number, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then address, let's say Indore, India. Okay, and add the semicolon after the query and run this query. Okay, so here you can see the error. Why we are getting this error? You can clearly see the error message that null value in column id for relation students violates not null constraint. Now one can think that when we were creating employees record, or we are inserting records into the employee table, we were not providing the value for the id. Why? Because there we are using serial. Okay, but here we just made the id as the primary key, and we are not using any serial data type here. So we need to mention the value of id manually here. Here it will not be calculated in the auto incremented way. So that's why we are getting the error, null value in column id for relation students. Okay, and it violates not null constraint. Okay, and whenever you add primary key constraint over a column, it also inherently invokes two constraint on it, that is not null constraint and the unique key constraint. Okay, so now let's provide the value of id here. So first mention the id in the name. Okay, id in the column name, so here we can add id, and now let's provide uh, let's say 1 comma. Okay, and now when you run this query, you will see that one row has been inserted into the students table. Okay, so here we verified that we cannot insert null or blank values for the primary key into table. Okay, now let's try to repeat let's try to insert the same row into the table. Okay, and that way we can verify the uniqueness of primary key. Okay, so for example, let's run this command again, and here you will see that duplicate key value violates unique constraint student email. Okay, so we are getting here because we have the duplicate value for the email address. So let's change the email address here. Let's make it ravi@example.com. Okay, and when you run this command, you can see that duplicate key value violates unique constraint students primary key. Okay, and why we are getting this? Because as I said previously, that you cannot provide duplicate values for your primary key. So a primary key must be unique and not null. Okay, so here we are getting error because we are repeating the value of primary key, or you can say we are duplicating the value of primary key, so we need to make it unique. Okay, now if you change the value of id, for example, let's say you make it 2 instead of 1. Okay, and when you run this query will insert a new row into the students table, and now you can verify it using, let's say, select star from student. Okay, and here you can see that we have now two records for students table with id 1 and 2. Okay, so what we did in this lecture, that we learned how we can add primary key constraint into an existing table, and we also learned that primary key cannot accept duplicate values and null values or blank values. Okay, so whenever you make your column as primary key, make sure that you must provide some value for it, and make sure that the value is unique for that primary key column. Okay, so try this lecture at your end, and we will meet into another lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.